Hi, I'm Hilton and this is my Audi A6. Yes, I bought another Audi A6 and this time it's a 1996 model. I'll show you guys around. So before I show you guys the engine and the mechanicals, I thought I'd just show you guys what it looks like inside, and then I'll show you guys what it looks like outside, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the mechanical condition of this car. But you can see that the door cards are pretty much like new, and the seats, well, they are also in very good condition. Keeping in mind, I have not done much to this car. We have cleaned it up a little bit, my partner and myself, and it was a little bit dirty inside, but that's all it needed. And the headliner was also done because it was drooping at the back behind the sunroof. And to be honest with you, I'm not very happy with the job that they did on the headliner. I had it done before the car was shipped to me. So there are areas where the headliner is actually not sticking to the roof. And I'll show you guys where in a second. But I want to get in the back and show you guys the front. So I'm in the back seat, and as you can see, the front seats are in very good condition and very neat, very clean, very tidy. And yes, the car does have a sunroof, and the sunroof does work. And this is the dash and the center console. And the nice thing about this is that everything works on this car. The cruise control works, the AC works, it blows ice cold, the heater works, everything really works on the car. And that was something that I could not find. I've been looking for one of these in really good condition for years now, and I haven't been able to find one because most of them have very high mileage and they really just need to be scrapped. The physical condition of the exterior of them has been very bad, and they needed extensive body work as well, so I wasn't prepared to get into that. So it took a long time to find one of these with low mileage in very good physical condition. This is the condition of the rear seats, still very good. Carpets are very neat, door cards are neat. Everything's very good at the back. There were some stickers on the rear windows that we had to remove. And my cat, Socks, is having a root around. Hello, Socks. And just show you guys the trunk. There's the tools over there. And then there's actually a CD changer in the back. I've never tested this to see if it works, but I'm pretty sure it does because the lights do light up when I turn the ignition on. And in here we have a full-size spare wheel, and there's the jack. The jack actually has a fixture over there that you turn, and it keeps it in place and stops it from rattling. And same sort of principle as the spare wheel. Now you can see this spare wheel has been used before, even though the tire itself still looks pretty good. Don't really know the condition of the wheel, but it looks fairly good to me. The carpet on the trunk still very good, but these gas struts do need changing. And something I noticed is that the grommet over here is missing, and it looks to me like these wires were spliced or cut at some point in time. And I'm going to leave that like that because I'm going to be running a reverse camera onto this car, and I'll be placing the camera up in here, and I'm just hoping that I can get that to work, but this is plastic anyway. And yeah, let's get inside the driver's seat and then I'll show you guys the exterior of the car. So just turn the ignition to accessory and it says OK. Looking at the mileage, that's what it has on the clock. 94,000 kilometers. That is around 52 or 53,000 miles. So, one owner car. It was owned by an old man who passed away about a year ago, or 2 years ago, I think a year ago. And the car went into an estate, and after that they decided to sell it off. And I paid around $5,000 for this car, $5,000 or $6,000, which was 115,000 Rand, South African Rand, which was a lot. I did overpay for the car, but the reason why is because of the low mileage and the physical condition of the car, because all the buttons are great. It has front and rear fog lights, it has height adjustable headlights, which work, electric mirrors, which work. Like I said, AC works. It has cruise control here on the stalk, which works. And the nice thing that I like is that it tells you the temperature, and it has a trip computer as well. Right now it says it's using 10.3 liters per 100 kilometers, which I don't believe, because this thing is running very rich right now. So we'll get into that when I show you the engine bay. But yeah, one owner car has his service history up until 2 years ago, and unfortunately the old man passed away shortly after that. So that's why the car hasn't been serviced in the last 2 years, and it needs a major service, major service. The automatic transmission needs to be serviced, so the filter and the oil needs to be changed, and it has a 4-speed lockup transmission. It's a ZF transmission. I think it's a 4HP 18 transmission that it has in it. So between third and fourth it's very clunky right now, and that tells me that the oil needs to be changed. So I'll just show you guys around the outside. Right, so having a look around the outside, you can see the car is in very good condition. It's pretty straight. There are no dings on the doors, and wheels are still good. And believe it or not, the remote control for the key actually works. It has an infrared on the key, so when you lock and unlock, you've got to point the key to this thing on the B pillar, and then the central locking will open. It doesn't have selective closing and opening. It just opens all the doors and the trunk at the same time. But in very good condition. There's my tripod. I did give the car a polish because it had a few scratches and stuff on it, which I had to polish out, especially here under the door handles, very scratched up, and I polished all that out. So it's looking very nice now, very neat. And oddly, it doesn't have a third brake light in the window, so I'm going to have to take care of that. But overall, in very good condition. Now on the headlights, we have low beam, we have a fog light, and then we have the high beam and the park light, obviously indicators. It doesn't have fog lights in the bumper like the Audi A4 of the same year, but it does have the fog light over there. And so yeah, front and rear fog lights, and everything works. Everything works. All the electronics on this car are still working very well, which is great. I'm just going to pop the hood for you guys and show you under the hood. So what we have here is, I've taken the covers off so I can show you the condition. And this is a 2.6 V6 engine, and I like that the intake actually has the V6 over there. Needs some cleaning up, and all these pipes are a little bit brittle because they're very old. And the problem that I've got with this thing right now is, number one, the valve covers leaking on this side, as you can see there, compared to this one, nice and dry. And the intake has oil all around it. There's actually oil dammed up in the fuel injectors over here and where the spark plugs are situated. So, and I don't know, and I can see oil down here where the cylinder head meets the block. So I don't know what that's about, or it looks to me like oil has gotten on top of the intake here, come out and run down there. The car is also running very rich at the moment, and there's one of several things wrong here because the car doesn't have an AMS meter. So the AMS meter is built into the ECU of the car, and the ECU is using the lambda sensors, which are situated over there. You can see one sitting right there, and there's one sitting on this side over there. So there's one on each bank, and either one of those are faulty. The fuel pressure regulator could be faulty, or the coolant temp sensor could be faulty, and that could be why the car's running rich, because the coolant temp sensor sends a lot of signals to various control modules in the car, and it's so basic that, you know, one control module, one control unit, or several control units would be using one sensor to control various things in the car. It could also be a vacuum leak, but I've had a look. I don't see anything here that could be causing a vacuum leak. All the hoses and pipes look in good condition still, even though it's dirty and messy. So the car is going to Audi, and there's a lot of space in front here to work. So when they do the cam belt, it will be quite easily to change this belt as well as the cam belt, which is sitting in here. And it's so easy to work on this engine. You don't have to take the whole front end off the car like you do on the Audi A4. And they even show you here how the fuel injectors work, how they fire. So it shows you the part number of this whole module. This is the ignition system over here. And yeah, so I don't quite know what the issue could be. That's the power steering over there, coolant, and then windshield washer. And the power steering is not leaking, the coolant is not leaking, there's no leaks there. The only thing leaking is that thing there. So if that gets fixed, and we can find out if that or the bad running is as a result of all this oil here on the intake, then I won't feel too bad, but I am concerned about this. That is a big concern of mine. And I'm hoping that we can find, well, I'm hoping that this week when the car goes to Audi Center, they can figure that out for me. And we've checked the brake fluid, that's new, so it's been recently changed. And the cabin filter is sitting in there, and in order to change that, you've got to take the windshield wipers off and all that paraphernalia over there. It's the weirdest, oddest, most strangest way of changing a cabin filter I've ever come across in my life, and really cumbersome. That's the only thing that I don't like about this car. But everything else I do like. I do have an ant problem. There are ants constantly crawling around the car, and I don't know where they're coming from. So I haven't opened this yet, and my guess is they could be nesting here in the airbox. So I'm going to be opening that to see exactly what's going on in there. Yeah, I think once the leak is sorted out over there and this is sorted out, they clean everything up, it's going to look good, and then I can put the covers back. But for now I'm leaving the covers off to make it easier for the dealer. And that right there is the ABS control unit. So the car does have ABS. It only has one airbag, and that is for the driver. So I have an airbag. My passenger, sorry, you're out of luck. But overseas models, they do get an airbag. So I find it weird because this car was actually built here where I live in Uitenhage in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. And the car was built in 1995 and registered in 1996. So it was built in the last few months of 95 here at the Volkswagen factory in Uitenhage. And back then they were building Audis, the Audi A4 as well as Audi A6, and they were building VW Golf and Jetta, and also what they called the City Golf, which was the Golf 1 but rebadged as a City Golf. And they continued to build that car for a long, long time. This car has now returned to its hometown where it was born, and it's going to live here. And I don't know how long I'm going to keep this car. Depends how things go. If once I've had everything done to it, if it proves to be reliable, I'll keep it. But if not, I'm going to get rid of it because parts are not available from VW. I have tried to order various parts for this car and I cannot get anything, nothing, not even service parts. They don't have air filters, they don't have oil filters, they don't have spark plugs even. They don't have anything for this car. I wanted the filter from them for the transmission. They don't supply that anymore. So I have to import everything from Germany, and you can see the leather on the door card there is pulling away, and I'm going to sort that out myself. I'm going to get some auto trimmers glue and just glue it back. And that's all it needs. The driver's side is actually doing it as well, if you see there. So I want to keep the car as original as possible, and the only thing that I'm going to be doing to it is changing the head unit. And like I showed you, it does have a CD in the back, but the sound is awful in this thing. It doesn't even have a Bose sound system in it. It has just 4 speakers. It's got 4 main speakers and then obviously tweeters in there. And the rear do not have tweeters. The Bose sound system, if it had the Bose sound system, there would have been speakers in the rear doors, which this one hasn't got. It's got speakers in the rear parcel shelf over there. They're not active speakers. Not even the rear is active, so the sound is just awful. There's no bass, it's tinny, there's nothing. So I want to upgrade the sound system and put a small amplifier in it, and I want to just put an Android system in here with a backup camera at the back. And the Android system, which I'll pop up here now, that I'm going to put in, will be a single DIN, but it's just got a slightly bigger screen, so it's going to just lip over this area over here on the AC controls, and maybe a little at the top. But I mean, I'll still be able to get to these buttons over here, you know, and that shouldn't be a problem. But I'm going to buy one that comes down rather than up, so that I still have access to my buttons over here, as well as this little cubby here for change or whatever. You can put your phone in there. This was before cell phones even existed. So, well, actually, this was when those old brick Nokia phones existed. That wouldn't have fitted in there, actually. But I will be changing that, and that's probably the only thing I'm going to change on this car. There are a few cosmetic things that I want to do to it, like ambient lighting and stuff like that inside, which I'll probably run underneath the wood over there, and in the doors as well over there, and maybe put some lighting in the door handles as well. But that's about the extent of it. In addition to the engine, all 4 shocks are currently worn on this car, and I'm having them replaced this week as well. The strut mountings will be replaced at the same time. In addition to that, the lower control arms are faulty, the bushings are worn, and I have to replace those as well. So, and then the CV boot on the driver's side is leaking, and I'm going to be changing that as well. So they'll be putting a new CV boot on for me. I couldn't get a loose CV boot for this car, so I had to buy a whole CV joint with the boot. That's the only way I could get a boot. So it's probably a good thing to have a spare CV joint, you know, as a spare part, because in years to come, if I do keep it a couple more years and the CV becomes faulty because it has been leaking, then at least I do have a CV, and by then the CVs will most likely not be available for this car anymore. So it's a case of stock up while you can. And so I think once the shocks, all 4 shocks are sorted out, the rear shocks are also worn, but that shock on that side and the CV on that side is leaking. The shock is leaking as well. The car is, I'll show you. If I do this to the car, it just keeps bouncing. So that's definitely the shock that is defective and it needs to be replaced. And I thought, well, if I'm going to do the shocks, I'm going to do all 4 shocks, and I struggled to find shocks for the car. I took the last 4 in the country, and they are KYB shocks. I believe they are very good. They're gas shocks, they're not oil. The car has its original factory oil shocks right now, and that's why it's leaking oil. And once that is done, I think the car is going to just drive much better. But right now it makes these clunking noises when you are just, you know, driving slowly over bumps and stuff. Even coming out of the driveway, it clunks and it comes through the steering, and it just feels absolutely awful. The car drives awfully right now, thanks to the shocks and the lower control arms that are worn out. And I can't believe that they actually drove this car in that condition. But yeah, and in addition to that, the car passed a roadworthy test in Cape Town before I bought it, or before I took delivery of it. And I took the car here for a roadworthy test again, just to check, and they failed it based on the shocks and the CV boot and the lower control arm bushings that were worn. Couldn't get the bushings loose, so I had to buy the whole control arms. So I'm going to have those replaced, and then they can tell me exactly what's going on with the running rich issue, because it smells like a lawnmower right now. And once that is sorted out and the lumpy idle is sorted out, then and it's had an oil change, fuel filters, everything, all the filters changed, I think the car is going to run great. Thank you for watching, and if you've watched all the way to the end of this video and you own one of these and you know why it's running rich, I would appreciate if you could pop down in the comments what you think it could be, if you have experience with this, if you've had a car like this that's done it, or an Audi A4 even that's done this. It would be very helpful to me, so I can pinpoint exactly what's wrong. I know the dealer's going to run codes on it, but some of the codes will be as a symptom of it running rich and not give you the actual reason why it's running rich. So the only thing I can think of is the fuel pressure regulator, the coolant temp sensor, or the lambda probes could be faulty. That's the only thing I can think of. But if there's anything else you guys can think of, then pop a comment down below and give me your thoughts. I will still be filming videos on the other Audi A6. I have a lot to do on that car still, so you're not going to see much of this car in the coming months. When I start doing things to this car, and I don't have time, I only can do this on weekends, so when I eventually start doing things in this car, then I'll start filming on it. But I want to get the other car totally sorted, and there are quite a few things that still need to be done to that car. So I want to thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for the next video. Take care. Bye.